mad. Okay,
on
Kelly's listen, shitheads. Kelly's mad because I just casually mentioned like Laura Dern is a great actor, but I don't understand the obsession. And Kelly got really mad at me for saying that. Moving on.
He is a treasure.
Okay.
You know what you should read.
It's time for What You Should Read, the podcast all about the titles you need. Join 3 book lovers and a guest as they cover all the best new titles to enjoy with your tea.
I have that, but I haven't read it yet.
Hi, I'm Julia.
I'm Rachael.
And I'm Kelly.
And this is What You Should Read,
The podcast where we should all over our books.
And I just had to tell Rachael and Kelly to stop giving all of their content away before we hit record because they were excitedly talking about all the books that they want to talk about today. And I was like, oh, we're not recording yet.
I know. I was just like so excited to talk about it, and then you said save it for the podcast.
Yeah, I'm such a dictator.
It's okay. Kelly and I need to be reined in most of the time because
I cannot.
We're just chaotic.
Yeah.
The reason we do this podcast is because we literally can't stop talking about books. So it's
true.
on brand.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's just jump into it then. Rachael, what are you reading right now?
I just looked at my Goodreads and I currently have 6 books on my currently reading list. So
is that true?
It is. I just can't decide. I have like book ADD or something right now. So I am reading The Happiest Girl in the World by Alena, Dillon, and I love it so much. That's my main priority right now. I'm also listening to the audiobook of 1, 2, 3 by Laurie Frankel. I'm really liking that one a lot. Another one I'm reading is It's Been a Pleasure, Noni Blake, which is like a contemporary rom-com. It's set in Australia, or it's based in Australia, but I think she's going to start traveling. So it's about this woman who she's in her mid-30s, and 18 months ago, she broke up with her longtime girlfriend and just like kind of lost herself and doesn't really know what's going on with her life. And then she and her friends were making a sort of a list of people they didn't have sex with that they should have. And so she decides to take that list and contact all the people on it to see if she can hook up with them. And so that's where I'm at right now. Is she has so far contacted one person. So
that sounds funny.
It's really funny. I like it a lot. And I'm reading a bunch of other stuff, but I won't take up all the time.
Are you just like, because sometimes I feel like there's times where I'm like, I really like this book, but I'm just not in the mood for it. So I keep going back and forth.
Yeah, it's partially that. And partially I want to read all the books and I can't wait.
Yeah.
But by not waiting, it still takes longer to read them because I have so many going. So I think I think my life is just very chaotic right now because work
you've
is
been
so
busy at work. So
I'm working like every day.
Yeah, I know.
But it's life, I guess, right now.
Yeah, it won't be forever.
No.
Kelly, what are you reading?
I am reading The Anatomy of Desire by L.R. Dorn, which I got from Libro FM, and it's also a HarperCollins audio release. It comes out on May 11th. It is so good so far. We've talked a little bit about our wheelhouse books, and one of mine is definitely like true crime and podcast type stuff. And that's what this is, but it's also a retelling or reimagining of an American tragedy, which was made into the movie A Place in the Sun with Elizabeth Taylor and Montgomery Clift. And if you haven't seen it, it is wonderful. You need to see it like right now. It is 2 of the most beautiful actors ever on film, like young Elizabeth Taylor and young Montgomery Clift. And they're just it's wonderful.
Wow.
And so far, all that's happened is a social media influencer she seems to be bi. And the reason I say seems to be is I'm not entirely sure how genuine her attraction to one of the characters is, or if she's just very into that person because they are more established than she is, and it might be good for her brand. So basically, a love triangle that may or may not be super legitimate. One person ends up dead.
So it's a thriller.
Good. Yes, but also not really, because it's really more like this has all happened, and the book is essentially like a podcast, episode by episode. So it's
Cool.
not kind of a thriller, I guess, but also not really, because everything's already over.
Okay, you've sold me on it, because me, I don't like typically go for thrillers, but the audiobook does sound like it would be really good.
And it's a full cast one.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah,
the description was like for fans of Serial and stuff like that. So.
All right, fine.
Another retelling of it that's really good is I think A Northern Light by Jennifer Donnelly, and that one is also really, really good.
Nice.
Nice.
I am currently reading The Galaxy and the Ground Within by Becky Chambers, which is her 4th book in the Wayfarers series. But they're not a series in like sequential order, they're companion novels, so you really can read them in any order. They're all just about the same universe, which is good because I've only read the first 2, and the second one I actually DNF'd, which is surprising because I loved the first one so much. I loved Long Way to a Small Angry Planet, and then the second one was, I think, A Close and Common Orbit. I can't remember what the 3rd book was called, but I didn't end up haven't read that one yet. But the 4th one, I already love it, and it's definitely, I feel like I'm in a humorous sci-fi mood right now, because I read Project Hail Mary and I couldn't put it down, and then I read another book which was really good and I really liked it, but as I was reading it took me a long time because I was like, oh, I'm just not in the mood for this genre. And now I'm so glad I picked up this one because it's another humorous sci-fi story. So basically it starts with like, it's basically focused on this planet that is basically a truck stop for the galaxy. So space travelers, if they need to refuel and like stock up on supplies, they stop here. And it's this alien runs it with her child who's like going through puberty, and like their species is like goes through puberty for like 8 years. So it's like, oh, like she's like, I don't know if I can take another 8 years of this, like the kid's just like in a bad mood all the time and smells really bad.
Nice.
And then there's these 3 ships that dock there, and then end up getting waylaid there, I guess. And one of them is a species that is very much discriminated against, and like just like they all come together. And I don't think there's a lot of plot to it. I think it's just very character driven, and like you get their backstories. So I think I'm going to enjoy it. It's hilarious and just a good time. So yeah.
Nice.
Yep.
Okay. So for book news now.
You're like, okay.
It's not good news, but it's not necessarily bad news. And possibly best of all, it has nothing to do with Goodreads, which at this point is all I care about. So basically, a group of authors have banded together because Disney isn't paying them the royalties that they should based on contracts. And this story broke actually late last year because Alan Dean Foster, one of the authors, was the first one to come out and say, hey, Disney isn't paying me. And so according to these authors, which include Alan Dean Foster and Neil Gaiman and Chuck Wendig, and there are more, like a ton more, various subsidiaries of Disney, including but not limited to Lucasfilm, 20th Century Fox, Marvel Worldwide, and Disney Worldwide, aren't honoring the contracts and paying royalties. And you can follow the hashtag Disney Must Pay on social media to learn more. But I mean, this is not a small company, you know, and from my understanding, Lucasfilm, which is Star Wars, and Marvel and Disney and 20th Century Fox, like they're not exactly like mom and pop stores that may have been having a funding crunch during the pandemic. And it's also to point out, important to point out that Chuck Wendig and Alan Dean Foster and Neil Gaiman, like these are big authors, but there's also probably a lot more authors that maybe cannot afford to not get paid for work they write.
Right.
I wonder what's going on there, because like you said, they're not small companies.
No.
Something shady seems afoot.
Yes.
Someone's mismanaging something for sure.
Yeah. Mouse better have my money.
I mean, especially like you said, these big companies that like they obviously have the money to pay them. So like, what is the holdup? It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
It's just bad.
Yeah.
Hold on a second. Okay. Sorry, my phone. I'm on my phone today and the battery went to 20%. So that being said, let's move on. So next is our segment, Recent Acquisitions, where we talk about the books we've recently bought, borrowed, or been given. So Kelly, tell me about your recent acquisitions.
So I got a whole bunch of audiobooks from Libro FM that I'm sure you guys will talk about. So I just want to talk about one specific book. This is basically, this is our most anticipated for May. And The Anatomy of Desire is a book that I would normally have wanted to talk about, but we have limited time, so I snuck it in for currently reading. And my other one, Lycanthropy and Other Chronic Illnesses by Kristen O'Neill, is another one that I would love to talk about. So I'm basically just cheating. And it is about this group. They are teenagers with chronic illnesses. And one of them actually is a werewolf, and it's so good. It's not really scary. It's just, you know, exploring these chronic illnesses. The main character has Lyme disease, and she comes to realize that her best friend Bridget is a literal werewolf. Like when she turns, she as a wolf is down in the basement with like raw meat, basically. And I just
Which book is this?
Lycanthropy and Other Chronic Illnesses by Kristen O'Neill.
Okay.
It is so good and so funny and just a complete joy to read.
Wow. Sounds good.
Yes, it's very, very good.
Julia, what about you?
Okay, I did get a few audiobooks from Libro FM. So I got One Last Stop by Casey McQuiston, which she wrote Red, White, and Royal Blue, which I really enjoyed. I actually don't know much about her new book, so I'm excited. But I definitely snagged it because I do like that author. And then I got Juneteenth, On Juneteenth, I think it's called. Yeah, On Juneteenth by Annette Gordon-Reed. Which is about Juneteenth, I think, obviously by the title. So that I think it's a memoir, but also like a historical view of the holiday, of the day Juneteenth. So that should be great to listen to. And then there were some Kindle deals that I succumbed to. I really need to stop. But they were on sale, and one is Sam Tschida's Siri, Who Am I? And I got it because I love books about memory loss, like just like Project Hail Mary is an example. And also, what was the Leanne Moriarty book?
What Alice Forgot.
What Alice Forgot. Yeah. I love books like that where they're like, you're learning along with the main character what's going on. So this one is, she's a social media influencer, and she gets injured and she wakes up with amnesia. So she has to figure out who she is and like using her posts. And then it seems like sounds like her death might not have been an accident after all. So so that sounded fun. And then I also got Agatha Arch is Afraid of Everything by Kristen Bair. And it's about a mom she's lives in New England, and she finds her husband in a compromising position with the dog walker. Yeah, so it kind of sounds like a humorous, like, and then she like kind of goes on like a mission to like get revenge. So it sounds like she's kind of not the most lovable character, but also you're rooting for her kind of thing. It sounds funny. So yeah, those were my acquisitions.
Nice. I got, so in addition to It's Been a Pleasure, Noni Blake, and The Happiest Girl in the World, I also, my copy of my pre-order of The End of Men came in, by Christina Sweeney Baird. I'm really excited to read that soon. And then I also got This Time Next Year by Sophie Cousins. I just was in the bookstore and it was there, and
I love that book.
Yeah, I love contemporary British rom-coms. So
you will love that one.
I'm sure I'll really like it. Yeah. And then I got a bunch of ALCs from Libro FM as well, including John Green's. John Green's was a pre-order. I can't get it till the 18th, but it's The Anthropocene Reviewed, which is this collection of essays, and it sounds really good. And yeah, a lot of the picks on Libro FM for the ALCs were nonfiction, which is really interesting.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, but I also got The Anatomy of Desire. I'm really excited about that.
It's so good so far.
I might have to get that too. All right. Well, we are going to up our audiobook game this month, I think. But speaking of this month, it is the first Tuesday of May. So today is one of our favorite episodes to record. We're talking about our most anticipated May releases. We're also going to review how we did on our most anticipated April releases. How many did we read? Did we read any? Why is it so much easier to buy books than it is to read them? We will discuss all of that and more when we come back from the break. So stick around and we'll be right back. And we are back. And today we are discussing our May most anticipated releases. But first, we are going to review how we did with reading our Kelly's already drinking her water because okay, so the way we do this is we say like which books were on our most anticipated for April, and then we use our patented good place rating scale. So since I think we only each recommended 4 last time, I will say if you read 1 or 2 or 1 book, you're an Eleanor, Arizona Trash Bag. If you read 2 books, you're a Michael, Averages to Human. If you read 3 books on your list, you are a Tahani, like so close to being the best. And then if you read 4, then you're a Janet, practically perfect in every way. So Kelly, in April, your most anticipated books were She's Too Pretty to Burn by Wendy Hurd, You Love Me by Carolyn Kepnes, The Cost of Knowing by Brittany Morris, and Astrid Sees All by Natalie Standiford. So of those 4, which ones did you read?
I am an Eleanor. I read The Cost of Knowing by Brittany Morris. It was wonderful. I absolutely loved it. Everyone should read it right now. I believe I've talked about it on the podcast, how great it is. I have not read the other 3. I do have them.
Okay. Well, that's good. You read 1. That's good. Okay, Rachel, your most anticipated were Gold Diggers by Sanjina Sathian, Witches Steeped in Gold by Clannon Smart, The Next Everest by Jim Davidson, and The End of Men by Christina Sweeney Baird.
I read 0. I didn't read any of them. I did buy 3 of them, and then The Next Everest is what I'm going to get with my next Libro FM credit because I want the audiobook.
Oh, nice. Yes. Okay, so you're a Cheaty because Cheaty just can never make up his mind, and so
Exactly.
he's just paralyzed.
I am a Cheaty. I've been a total Cheaty this whole month.
Well, I mean, you've been busy, so it happens. Okay, so my 4 picks were We Are Watching Eliza Bright by A.E. Osworth, Malice by Heather Walter, Dial A for Aunties by Jessie Q. Satanto, and The Happiest Girl in the World by Alena Dillon. I am the winner. I read 2 which makes
Whoa.
me Michael. But I also read one book that was on my yearly most anticipated that came out in April, which for some reason I forgot to put on my list. And that was Meet Me in Another Life by Katrina Sylvie. So I don't know. Do I get bumped up to Tahani for that or no?
I mean, I feel like yes, because it was one of your most anticipated.
Yeah.
So.
And it's maybe my favorite book of the year so far.
Wow.
Yeah, it was so good. So also, okay, so Dial A for Aunties by Jessie Q. Satanto. I just finished it. It is so funny. It's like very dark, but also super funny, has a touch of rom-com. It's just a good time, and it's going to be a Netflix show. So, I mean, we're just going to have so much fun with this book, like for a long time. And I hope there's sequels. The characters are great. It's a good time. So I highly recommend that. And then The Happiest Girl in the World by Alena Dillon. We loved it. We are talking to the author next week. So cannot wait for you all to hear that episode. But yeah, so I did pretty good. I'm still really excited, especially to read the A.E. Osworth, the We Are Watching Eliza Bright, because the author, they've been talking to Kelly on Twitter. I don't remember what you guys were talking about, but it was fun. I was like, oh, now I want to read that book even more now.
Oh, you don't remember?
No, I don't.
Talking about Laura Dern.
Oh, yeah. Oh, right. Who is a good actress. Kelly's mad. Okay, Kelly's shitheads. Kelly's mad because I just casually mentioned, like, Laura Dern is a great actor, but I don't understand the obsession. And Kelly got really mad at me for saying that. Moving on.
He is a treasure.
Okay. Yes, national. I just don't think Marmee was the right role for her. I just don't.
She's done a billion other things.
I know. I did like her in Jurassic Park.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Kelly's like, that was so long ago.
But a classic.
Yes, a classic. Okay, well, to get us onto the main topic for today's episode, we're talking about the top 5 each books that we're anticipating coming out this May. So Kelly, why don't you start us off?
My first one, I'm excited to read this for myself, but I'm pretty sure you're gonna like it too, Rachel. It is the Hour of the Witch by Chris Bajalian. It comes out on Tuesday, which is the day this drops, and it is set in 1600s Boston. A woman named Mary Deerfield wants to divorce her abusive husband, but her neighbors now think she's a witch. So she has to figure out how to get away from her jerk of a husband without being burned at the stake. And I'm making it sound kind of fun and funny, but I think it's actually going to be very suspenseful and scary. I mean, not like horror scary, but oh God, Mary Deerfield is a woman in a world that is not meant for women.
Right. Oh yeah, those are always scary.
Yes. So I'm so excited. His books are wonderful. Like all of them are just so great. So I cannot wait for this one.
That sounds good. Rachel, you love witch books, so.
I do.
Yeah. All right, Rachel, what is your first pick for May?
So I mentioned this book in our most anticipated for the year episode back in January. It is Sorrowland by Rivers Solomon, and it drops this Tuesday, May 4th. And it is about a woman named Vern. She was raised in a strict religious compound, and when she something happens where she becomes desperate to escape, and she's 7 months pregnant with twins. She flees the compound and decides she's going to raise them far away from the influence of all of that. But then in the forest where she's running, she is being hunted, and she's being forced to fight back against the community, like the compound. They're like trying to get her back. And then like stuff that's like supernatural starts happening. So I don't know exactly what. It talks about how she has some sort of powers. And yeah, it just sounds so like just incredibly like powerful, and there's just seems to be there'll be a lot of world building, I'm sure. I mean, River Solomon is a beautiful writer, and I'm just excited for it.
That does sound great. I didn't put that on my list because I knew it would be on yours, but I will definitely be interested in reading that as well.
Yay.
Okay, my first book is also a book that was on my yearly most anticipated, and I've been talking about it nonstop, and that's Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. Publishes today, May 4th, from Ballantine Books. Ryland Grace is the sole survivor on a desperate last chance mission, and if he fails, humanity and the earth itself will perish. Except that right now he doesn't know that. He can't even remember his own name, let alone the nature of his assignment and how to complete it. All he knows is that he's been asleep for a very long time, and he's just been awakened to find himself millions of miles from home with nothing but 2 corpses for company. His crewmates are dead, his memories fuzzily returning, and an impossible task confronts him. But thanks to an unexpected ally, he might have a chance. And I can only read the description, because otherwise, if I talk too much about this book, I will spoil it. So I can't use my own words, because I just want everyone to read it so we can talk about it. But yeah, the unexpected ally part is the part of the book that just like has my heart. And I'm so excited there will be a movie starring Ryan Gosling, which is very exciting. I know. I think he'll do really well with this.
Nice.
Yeah, this one I've obviously talked about it nonstop on this podcast, so y'all don't need me to say anything more except go read it.
Okay, fine. I did get that in my book of the month box, which should
Nice.
arrive this week.
Yeah, it's a good time. It's a good time.
I did too.
Humorous sci-fi with amnesia. Those are both in my wheelhouse, apparently. What, Kelly?
I got it too, and according to the post office, it will arrive tomorrow.
Fantastic.
So another great productive day for Kelly at work.
Nice.
Yay.
All right, Kelly, what's your next pick?
Okay, this I think is the most Kelly book that has ever been published ever. It's called Films of Endearment by Michael Korsky, and it's out today, May 4th. It is nonfiction, and it's about all the movies that he and his mom watched when he was growing up. And they were basically all these 80s movies with these strong female characters. Terms of Endearment, I'm sure, but he also mentioned The Color Purple, 9 to 5, stuff like that. And it sounds like his mom is not around anymore. And I also watched a bunch of movies with my dad. But unfortunately, I mean, he's also not around anymore, which is unfortunate. But the really unfortunate thing is that while it sounds like Michael and his mom watched these great movies, I was not evolved as a cinema goer, so we watched a lot of really crappy horror movies. Which, you know, also fun, but, you know, you can't really have a super in-depth conversation about Wishmaster. Maybe you can, I'll let you know, but I don't think you can.
Well, that sounds definitely like very much a Kelly book.
I really can't wait to read it. I love books about movies, and I love books about like people watching movies together.
Yeah.
So
cool.
So excited. Out today.
Yay.
Awesome.
Yep.
All right, my next pick also comes out today, May 4th, and it is the first in a new fantasy series. The fantasy series is Bladesmith, and the title of the book is Blade of Secrets. It stars an 18-year-old female magical blacksmith who has social anxiety. And it just sounds so cute. So 18-year-old Ziva prefers metal to people. She spends her days tucked away in her forge, safe from society and the anxiety it causes her, using her magical gift to craft unique weapons imbued with power. Then Ziva receives a commission from a powerful warlord, and the result is a sword capable of stealing its victim's secrets. A sword that can cut far deeper than the length of its blade. A sword with the strength to topple kingdoms. So it sounds so exciting. So she learns of the warlord's intentions to use the weapon to enslave all the world under her rule. So she takes her sister and the sword and flees. So, and then of course they're joined by a distractingly handsome mercenary and a young scholar with extensive knowledge of the world's known magics. And they just set out on this quest to keep the sword safe until they can find someone worthy of wielding it.
That sounds so good.
Right? I can't wait. I want to read this right away.
Yeah, that's totally up your alley.
I literally just muted myself so I could buy it without my typing filling up the
Is this going to be
nice.
an expensive Tuesday?
Yes.
Okay, well, my first pick is This Summer by Jennifer Weiner,
Yay!
which comes out May 11th from Atria. So she's our favorite author. It's funny that her book last year was Big Summer, and now this is This Summer. So I sense a theme. But this one sounds really interesting. It's another book about like secrets, intrigue, female friendship. So Daisy Shoemaker is our main character. She can't sleep because she is just like not happy with her life. Even though she has this thriving cooking business, she's volunteering at everything. She has a beautiful home in Philadelphia. So she should be happy, right? But her daughter's a handful. Her husband and her aren't really connecting, and she just kind of feels like her work is frivolous. So she, is kind of struggling. And then meanwhile, she starts receiving these emails that are meant for someone else who has a similar name, Diana Starling. So their email addresses are just like one initial off. So someone's mistakenly emailing her. And so finally they connect and they end up meeting. But it turns out that the reason that this was happening may not have actually been an accident or may not have been a coincidence after all. So I don't know where it goes from there. I haven't read it yet, despite me trying to get an early copy. That was not happening. So I've pre-ordered it and I'm sure I'll be reading it very soon. So that is This Summer by Jennifer Weiner. And that's my second pick, out May 11th.
Oh,
That sounds so good.
I think I might save it for our 24-hour readathon episode.
That
yes.
would be fun.
Oh my gosh.
Which we haven't.
That would be
yet.
fun.
Maybe I should cut that out. Well, close listeners can ask us about it on social media.
Tweet at us.
Yeah.
All right, Kelly, what's your next pick?
Okay. So my next one is Excuse Me While I Ugly Cry by Joya Goffney, out May 4th. So Quinn is one of those people that keeps lists of everything, and as another person that loves lists, I relate and I love her already. But her journal full of lists is found by someone at school, and they post like one of the lists online anonymously, and they tell her, if you don't complete the list of your greatest fears, this whole journal is going to be published online.
Wait, what's this book called?
Excuse Me While I Ugly Cry.
Oh my gosh, that sounds great already.
Yeah, it sounds so good, and I want to read it. And I have to say though, like, the idea of my journal being posted online would be number one of my biggest fears.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds awful. Oh my gosh, this looks so cute. Debut author. That's great.
Yes.
Awesome.
And I love lists. I love making lists.
It's true. I also, yeah. And I think honestly, maybe all of my books are out May 4th because this month I'm going to read them all. And if they all come out early enough,
you're going to be a Janet.
I'll do it.
I'm pre-ordering this. Sounds great. Rachel, what about you?
All right, my next pick also comes out May 4th. It is The Ones We're Meant to Find by Joan He. And Julia, this sounds like a book you would like too. I think both of you would like it, but I'm excited for it. So it's about, I think they pronounce her it's Cee is the name of the character. And she's been trapped on an abandoned island for 3 years without any recollection of how she arrived or memories from her life prior. All she knows is that somewhere out there beyond the horizon, she has a sister named Kay. Determined to find her, Cee devotes her days to building a boat from junk parts scavenged inland, doing everything in her power to survive until the day she gets off the island and reunites with her sister. In a world apart, 16-year-old STEM prodigy Casey Missouri is also living a life of isolation. The eco-city she calls home is one of 8 levitating around the world, built for people who protected the planet and now need for protecting from it. With natural disasters on the rise due to climate change, eco-cities provide clean air, water, and shelter. Their residents, in exchange, must spend at least a third of their time in stasis pod, conducting business virtually whenever possible to reduce their environmental footprint. While Casey, an introvert and loner, doesn't mind the lifestyle, her sister Celia hated it. Popular and lovable, Celia much preferred the outside world, but no one could have predicted that Celia would take a boat out to sea, never to return.
Wow.
So, and then it's like, says it's 3 months since Celia's disappearance and Casey has given up hope. And it's just like, it just sounds so good.
I love the idea of the levitating pods.
Yes. Yeah.
That is so interesting. Yeah, that does sound like something I would be into.
A near future apocalyptic type of thing. And then with the memory loss,
yep,
Julia.
Yep.
So I'm excited for that. That one sounds definitely good.
Cool.
So good.
Okay, my third pick, and I know Kelly, this is on your list too, is While Justice Sleeps by Stacey Abrams. Out May 11th from, oh gosh, I didn't write down the publisher. I will find it. But this book is about Avery Keene, who is a young law clerk for a Supreme Court justice. And basically she's like overbooked. She's so busy. She has a high power job and she's doing well, but she's like doing her best to like hold it all together because there's just so much going on. Also with family troubles. But then the news breaks that her boss, the Supreme Court justice, who is kind of the swing vote on a lot of high profile cases, and he's also kind of like this cantankerous old dude, he's in a coma. So, and apparently he's made her power of attorney and legal guardian without he didn't tell her he was going to do that. So she's like suddenly thrown into this role that she never anticipated. And then she finds out that he's been researching a really controversial case about an American biotech company and an Indian genetics firm proposing a merger. And yeah, then there's some like conspiracies that are like happening in Washington surrounding this. So she's kind of like, it's kind of like she's figuring out what's going on in this book.
Wow.
I'm so excited about this. I love, political books. I love Stacey Abrams. I really did enjoy the romance novel that she wrote, but I think this sounds even better. This sounds just like, I mean, she knows politics, right? So I'm like, ooh, when I'm reading it, I'm going to be like, ooh, I wonder like who that's based on, because she knows so many people. So yeah. And also just, support Stacey Abrams and buy the book. So
yeah, for sure. That sounds so good. I didn't know what the plot was. Yeah, I just knew she had a political book novel coming out, and it sounds so good.
It really does. Like, yeah, the plot just sounds very intriguing. So that's While Justice Sleeps. It's out May 11th from Doubleday. No, May 25th. Sorry. I think the date might have changed since I wrote that down.
Oh, yeah. I see.
So we have to wait a while longer, but that's okay. May 25th by Doubleday.
Awesome.
Cool.
My next one is The Plot by Jean Hand Corlitz, which is out May 11th, my one book that's not out on the 4th. And it's going to be my first time reading this author, but she's written a bunch of like kind of literary thrillers, I guess we'll say. And this one sounds great. It's blurbed by Stephen King, which definitely makes me want to read it. But it's about this man, Jacob Bonner, and he teaches writing. He was a few years back, he was going to be like the next big novelist, and he released one book that did fine, I guess. And now he's teaching writing to let you know how his career is going. Spoiler, not well. And his least favorite student is like, basically, I don't need your help. I have the best story idea ever. And the guy's like, I'm sure you do, man. I'm sure you do. And then he hears the story idea and he's like, son of a bitch, this kid's right. And he basically steals himself because he's like, I know this is going to get sold and I'm going to be hearing about it everywhere. And then nothing at all.
Oh.
And it turns out that like that student died before he could write it.
Oh.
And Jake does what you might expect someone who reacts to things like that does. He steals it, puts his name on it, and basically publishes it. and
Wow.
it's all going super great. And then he starts getting an email from a stranger calling him a thief, which accurate.
Wow,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So I'm really excited. It sounds very interesting and very fun.
Mhm.
And I'm interested in knowing why he even thinks that he could possibly get away with it, because that kid must have told everybody about it.
Yeah.
So I'm super into it.
Sounds good.
Yep.
All right, Rach, you're up.
All right, so my next pick is one that Kelly recommended to me because someone was tweeting about, the author was tweeting about Taylor Swift, and I love Taylor Swift. But it's called The Summer of Broken Rules by K.L. Walther. It's out on May 4th. And it's about a young woman named Meredith Fox. She has been going to Martha's Vineyard for the summer as long as she can remember. But the summer that this book is set in is the first summer back since the death of her sister. But she's hoping that, a big family wedding celebration will help kind of like take away the sting a little bit. Unfortunately, 2 weeks before she's set to leave, her longtime boyfriend unexpectedly dumps her. And so she doesn't have a date to the wedding, but luckily she has the perfect distraction. Her family has a tradition of playing the ultimate game of assassin every summer, and this year it'll take place during the week of the wedding festivities. But her target just happens to be a very cute groomsman. So she's determined not to let herself get distracted and not let herself be lost in another doomed relationship. As the week progresses, however, she can't help falling for him, of course, which may cost her not only the game, but also her heart.
Aw.
I know, it sounds so fun, just like a lighthearted, rompy rom-com. I just like, and based on the tweets from the author, I think there's some Taylor Swift incorporated in the story.
Oh.
So that'll be fun. I'm super in the mood for like light summer reads. I'm ready for beach weather.
Yeah.
I'm just ready for it.
Yeah, I'm getting there as well. That sounds really cute.
I read it early because I got an e-galley, and then my friend Robin read it and loved it, so I snuck it in early, and it's so good. It's
Good.
just sweet and fun.
Mhm.
And there are a couple of really obvious Taylor Swift references, like they mentioned the Fearless CD, but I think there's a lot of like Easter eggs that you're only going to get if you're like a big fan. So I
Awesome.
got the two super awesome obvious ones. And I'm excited for you guys to read it and for my friend Krista to read it, because I think you guys will get all the references, and then you can tell me
Rachel will.
about
I don't think I.
I'm excited.
it. It's so good.
That's awesome. Okay, my next pick is a short story collection. Yay! It's called In the Event of Contact by Ethel Rowan. And it was the winner of the Dzanc Books Short Story Collection Prize. It chronicles characters profoundly affected by physical connection or its lack. So I think it's loosely related to the pandemic. And I'm for some reason really interested in reading books. I don't think every story is set during the pandemic, but it's like about human connection and what it means to us and why it's like what happens when we don't have it, which we've all obviously experienced to some degree in the past year. So it says, among the stories, a scrappy teen vies to be the next Sherlock Holmes. An immigrant daughter must defend her decision to remain childless. A guilt-ridden woman is haunted by the disappearance of her childhood friend. A cantankerous crossing guard celebrates getting run over by a truck. A battled priest with dementia determines to perform a heroic redemptive act if he can only remember how. And an inspirational, angst-ridden mother captains the skies.
That sounds good.
Yeah, I just, it just sounds like a delightful collection. I don't know this author. I would, if I enjoy this collection, I'm definitely going to pick up she has 2 other collections of short stories and a novel called The Weight of Him. But I've never read her, but this just caught my attention and it sounded like something that I would really enjoy. So that is in the Event of Contact. It's from Dzanc Books. And it's expected to publish May 18th, and it's only 192 pages. So quick read.
Nice.
Yeah.
Great.
Okay. My last one is Luck of the Titanic by Stacey Lee. It is out May 4th. She writes historical fiction, which is a genre I don't generally go for, but everything she writes is wonderful, and this sounds fantastic. It's about a girl named Valora who wants to join the circus. But there are two problems. She needs to find her twin brother and the person who owns the circus so that she can try out. But the bigger problem, and this is one that she doesn't know about yet, but we do, she's on the Titanic.
Oh.
Yeah. So, you know, she doesn't know that's a problem yet, but obviously we do. And I'm excited to see what will happen, but Stacey Lee also tends to write about these major historical events. One of hers was during the San Francisco earthquake from I think the early 1900s, and just everything she does is great. I really don't even know that much about this one, but it's like, oh, Stacey Lee finally has a new book out. Yeah, I'm gonna get that. And this is probably going to be the first book I read that comes out May 4th.
Nice.
Yeah, like as excited as I am for all of these books, like Stacey Lee. Yeah,
definitely. I love the idea of, I know they're out there, but like I haven't read any, but like books set on the Titanic.
Yeah.
And or like any book that just reminds me of my favorite childhood movies, like the Titanic and Jurassic Park and stuff like that. I would probably love.
You were obsessed with the Titanic. We used to watch that so much.
I was.
Oh gosh, we were talking about it at work one time, and I forget how it came up, but somebody was mad that I guess like they were in line at a movie, and I mean, it wasn't my friend who said this, but like they were in line for Titanic, and something was said like, oh, I wonder how they're gonna do the ship sinking part, and somebody behind them, not with them, but like behind them in line was like, spoilers, and they were dead serious.
What?
Yes.
No, but that's real. There are people that are like, don't know it was real.
I mean,
wow.
I just.
All right.
I know.
But yeah, I mean, I'm sorry if you no.
Yeah.
Big historical events cannot be spoiled.
No, they cannot.
I mean.
All right. My next pick is Pumpkin by Julie Murphy.
Yay, I finally get to take a drink.
Yay, I'm so excited for this book. So it's the third in the Dumplin series, and I loved both of the first books, Dumplin and Puddin'.
Oh,
Pumpkin.
So I'm like tearing up thinking of these books. These books are shitheads. If you have not read Julie Murphy's Dumplin series, you have to read it.
So
read
good.
it now.
Yeah.
And I'm so excited because we're back in Clover City and we are following Waylon Russell Brewer. He is a fat, openly gay boy stuck in the small West Texas town. His plan is to bide his time until he can graduate, move to Austin with his twin sister Clementine, and finally go, quote, full Waylon, so that he can live his Julie the Hills Are Alive with the Sound of Music, Andrew's Truth. So when Clementine deviates from their master plan right after Waylon gets dumped, he throws caution to the wind and creates an audition tape for his favorite TV drag show, Fiercest of Them All. What he doesn't count on is the tape accidentally getting shared with the entire school. And as a result, Waylon is nominated for prom queen as a joke. Clem's girlfriend, Hannah Perez, also receives a joke nomination for prom king.
Aww.
So Waylon and Hannah decide there's only one thing to do: run away and leave high school with a bang.
Wait, is this the Hannah? Is this Hannah that's in the first book?
Yeah, I think so. It's the one that, I know, she's great. So anyway, so they decide to actually run, not run away. They're like running for prom king and queen. They decide to kind of go all in on it.
Nice.
Good. But the first time I read this, like last week when I was reading this description and I saw the word run, I'm like, run away. But it is actually that they're running for prom king and queen. And then
this sounds a lot like Dumplin when she decides to do the pageant.
Yeah. And they're gonna get help from some fellow queens along the way.
Oh my God.
Just like in Dumplin.
It's so good.
Oh my God, that's gonna be so cute and fun to read.
I can't wait.
That's definitely on my list. All right. My last pick, I have two that I'm trying to decide, but I think this is the one that I'm gonna read. Tokyo Ever After by Emiko Jean. Is that on your list, Kelly?
It was one of, okay, so my list started at, I think 15, ballooned to 22, and then got like cut down to 5, and it was one of the last ones to get cut. I'm so excited for this book.
Yeah, it's hard to choose your most anticipated because there's a lot of great books coming out, but like, what do I think I have? I'm trying to choose ones that I have the most likelihood of actually reading in May.
Yeah.
Or like soon after.
Right.
So this is Pumpkin by Julie Murphy. Sorry, not you just did Pumpkin by Julie. I had that on my list too, so that was right above it. So I see. Tokyo Ever After by Emiko Jean. It publishes May 18th by Flatiron Books. It says Izumi Tanaka has never really felt like she fit in. It isn't easy being Japanese American in her small, mostly white Northern California town. Raised by a single mother, it's always been Izumi or Izzy because it's easier that way. And her mom against the world. But then Izzy discovers a clue to her previously unknown father's identity, and he's none other than the Crown Prince of Japan, which means outspoken, irreverent Izzy is literally a princess. So
it's the Princess Diaries.
Yes, it's basically the Princess Diaries meets Crazy Rich Asians. That's how it's promoted, which sounds amazing. So she goes to Japan to meet her dad. She meets like conniving cousins. The paparazzi are after her. There's a handsome bodyguard who's like always scowling, which I love. Which there was in The Bells too. Just want to point that out. Scowling hot bodyguards. Writers, put those in your books more. Those are great. So it's like the Princess Diaries, but in Japan. And it's also like she's torn between these two worlds. She doesn't feel American enough. She doesn't feel Japanese enough. So she's like struggling with her identity. It sounds really cute. I'm excited.
That sounds great.
Tokyo Ever After.
I want that.
Yeah, I thought Kelly, you might have it on your list, but I wasn't sure.
Oh yeah, I am so excited for it. It looks so good. The cover's great.
Yep. Of your books that you recommended, I think definitely I'll read Pumpkin by Julie Murphy, and then I'm also going to read what was the Excuse Me While I Cry?
Excuse Me While I Ugly Cry.
Excuse me while I already pre-ordered that. That sounds great.
Nice.
Of yours, I'm definitely going to do obviously Tokyo Ever After and While Justice Sleeps, and obviously This Summer. And Project Hail Mary, but I don't know that I'll get to all of them in May.
Right.
But,
yeah, same.
And Rachael, I'm definitely doing Sorrowland, Blade of Secrets. I've already read Pumpkin and Summer of Broken Rules. I hope everybody else does too.
Oh, you read Pumpkin? Awesome.
I am lucky enough to be auto-approved by Harper Teen and their other YA imprints on Edelweiss.
Amazing.
So when that crossed, I'm surprised you didn't hear me scream. You might have, and just not known that's what it was. Yeah.
Cool.
That was a good
these
day.
are some great picks. So hopefully, Shitheads, you've got a few recommendations that sound good to you and that you can pick up this May. We love new releases on the podcast. So we love doing this episode every month. Even though we may not get to them all. I mean, we can't. It's impossible to read them all. But I just like being able to shout out books that sound cool because everyone has different tastes. And it's, if you hear one that sounds up your alley, like go out and get it and support your local bookstore.
Yeah.
That's our show. If you don't already have a Libro FM subscription, you can join with the promo code What You Should Read, all one word, and get 2 books for the price of one for $14.99. It's definitely worth it. And the best thing about Libro FM is that you can also put your local indie bookstore and they will get part of the profits for the money you spend. But, and I just found this out, if you don't have a local bookstore, you can also go on their website and search and pick one. They will also let you search by like Black-owned business, gay-owned business,
Awesome.
whatever. Yeah. So it's a win-win for everybody.
Cool.
Yeah, and be sure to follow us on social media, WYSR_podcast on Instagram and on Twitter. Be sure to follow us on Goodreads, What You Should Read Podcast. You can email us at whatyoushouldreadpodcast@gmail.com. And please give us a rating and a review on Apple Podcasts.
And now you know what you should read.
You're welcome.
It's time for What You Should Read, the podcast all about the titles you need. Join 3 book lovers and a guest as they cover all the best new titles to enjoy with your tea.